the Conservatives have been deeply down in the polls for a long time now. In fact, ever since Rishi Sunak took over. And Sunak has been saying things like, well, we're going to be part of the greatest comeback in political history. He said this in April.
Greatest Labour comeback in political history.
Well, yeah, quite possibly. Yeah, absolutely, quite possibly.
1997, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be worse than 1997, shockingly. And so yesterday, Rishi Sunak came out and called a general election. Now, very peculiar, very peculiar.
Love this imagery, though, don't you? It's fantastic. It's like the end of a depression. You know, the rain's coming down on him. He's like, please vote for us in this coming election. Like, he knows it's over.
He knows it's over. That's exactly it.
Pathetic fallacy.
I have the impression, and a lot of people think that this is ridiculous, that they want to lose. Or maybe they want to.
It's hard to think that they don't want to lose.
They're trying so hard to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he announced it for the 4th of July, which is an unusual date. For people in America, you'll be thinking, well, hang on, that's our Independence Day. Yeah, but in Britain, it means nothing, to be honest. Nobody in Britain cares about the 4th of July.
No.
As far as people are concerned, that's just when they're planning their holidays and going out and enjoying the sun. And so there are lots of people who are upset about this because summer elections are actually very uncommon in Britain because, of course, most people want to do things during the summer. It's the one time of year we actually get some half-decent weather. So I don't really want to waste it on a political campaign. But
does that mean they're banking on people coming out, turning out?
Well, yeah, they're banking on people going to music festivals and being out of the country and stuff like that. It's like, okay, but people are just going to stay home, Rishi. No one wants to vote for you.
Yeah.
Even
his own team doesn't want to vote for him at this point. It's sad.
It's pathetic, actually. It's genuinely pathetic. And there's this kind of like Hitler in the bunker mentality with it, where it's just like, Rishi, everyone is outside looking in. Very few people on your side going, no, we can hold this, guys. No one thinks that.
But I'm not even convinced that he thinks what he says.
Well,
I don't believe anything he says.
Well, yeah, and he's got this incredibly insincere tone whenever he says anything. Again, like a CBeebies presenter.
Yeah.
Which just doesn't...
Smarmy.
Yeah, but also, again, sort of like a middle manager coming, a branch manager coming into the room and saying, hi, guys, we're up 6% this quarterly. God, we're 6%. Imagine that.
Right.
We're up 0.05% or something like that, actually. Yeah. 6% would be incredible. But anyway, so the thing that everyone took away from this, I mean, he had some generally platitudinous statements in his speech where he says, oh, well, since the pandemic and the furlough, the war in Ukraine, who do you trust? And it's like, well, I trust the Conservatives to destroy the country. And I also know that Labour want to destroy the country. So I don't really see what kind of choice I have in this. And he said that he was proud of what his government achieved, including on NHS spending.
What?
Line go up. And education. So
really?
Yeah, nothing terribly good. But the thing is,
we've got kids being trans left, right, and centre, not being able to tell schools don't tell their parents what's going on. Grades are going down.
Yeah.
Bad behaviour is going up, and he's proud of this.
NHS waiting lists going up.
Right.
And
lots of money being wasted on it.
Oh, unbelievable amounts of money. And these are his achievements. Wow. It's like, okay, that's impressive.
That is impressive.
But the thing is, no one cared about any of the things he had to say because he went outside and gave his statement. And I mean, apart from looking generally wretched.
Showing that when we work together, anything is possible. Our economy is now growing faster than anyone predicted, outpacing Germany, France, and the United States. And this morning it was confirmed that inflation is back to normal. This means that the pressure on prices will ease and mortgage rates will come down. This is proof that the plan and priorities I set out are working. I recognise that it has not always been easy. Some of you will only just be starting to feel the benefits, and for some, it might still be hard when you look at your bank balance.
I'm sorry, I take it back. It's not smarmy, it's just corny.
It is, but you've got to kind of admire the fact that they start blaring Tony Blair's anthem at him, and he didn't even pause, he didn't flinch. He was just like, you know what? I've got a script that I'm going to read. Yeah. I'm going to read it.
Another thing is that he says anything is possible if we cooperate, and apparently no one could have an umbrella there.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah, and so I mean, one of the things that people who aren't necessarily British political aficionados might not know is that things may only get better, or can only get better, is a song by Dee Reen in the late 90s that Tony Blair basically used as his new Labour anthem. Turns out that's not true.
Yeah.
Things got dramatically worse,
And then
beginning with Tony Blair onwards.
Yeah.
And there's a dramatic irony in this, that the Blair capture of the Conservative Party is kind of bookended with this. You know, the destruction of John Major's cabinet and government in 1997 begins with that, and then it ends with the destroyed Conservative Party that is completely the product of Blair's era. And Rishi Sunak is, in all ways, the kind of man that Blair wanted to be in charge of the country.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so and what's really interesting is the sort of zombie Blairite Keir Starmer is now going to thrash the Conservatives so thoroughly, Blair's victory over British politics entirely is complete. There's never been such a phenomenal victory as what Tony Blair has had over the past 30 years.
What a mastermind.
It is incredible. It is genuinely incredible. We'll come back to Tony Blair in a minute. In fact.
It's a shame he used his power for evil.
Yeah, it's a shame that he's literally Satan incarnate. But, you know, you've got to admire the hustle, right? So anyway, you might be like, well, where did that music come from? Of course, it was Steve Bray, Stop Brexit Man. To be honest with you, this was quite clever and funny and, okay, well done, Steve. Loath as I am to give you any props, but okay, that worked.
But look, if you're going to make a major announcement outside Downing Street, well, first of all, you don't have to do it outside Downing Street. You can do it inside, especially if it's raining. You can do it inside.
Notice that they actually have an umbrella.
Right, but if you're going to do it outside, first of all, get an umbrella. Second of all, make sure that the street is clear of people like Steve Bray.
Yeah, I mean, they did ban him from Parliament afterwards. But it's too late then, isn't it?
That's the Tories all over, isn't it?
It really is. Oh, the horse is bolted. Quick time to close the stable.
Yeah.
That literally put that on the gravestone of the Conservative Party. And so, yeah, you're not the only one who was like, why did they do this?
Yep.
You know, they've got a multi-million-pound media room inside Downing Street, and he stands outside with Steve Bray trolling him without an umbrella, without even a coat on.
It's almost like the media team was saying, how can we make him look like poor and miserable? How can we make him look desperate?
He's incredibly sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, I mean, this was, I genuinely wasn't sure that this hadn't been photoshopped.
Is this legitimate? Is this real?
I think it's legitimate, yeah.
Oh
Because I
gosh,
looked up a bunch of other photos of other times from media outlets, and he is genuinely that miniature.
Someone's trying to make him look stupid. That's
He certainly accomplished that.
He looks like a fool.
Yeah.
And that's not me being rude. That's the setup of this is stupid.
Yeah. He looks diminutive, weak.
This is supposed to be our leader.
Petty. Yeah, exactly. This has been done on purpose to him.
Right.
And it's not like anyone really feels that the Conservative Prime Minister is in charge of the Conservative Party either.
No.
And I can't help but wonder if this is someone on the back end, whoever is in the Conservative Party, actually pulling the strings. And this is a genuine question of who is this person? Because I read Nadeem Doris's book, The Plot.
You read it? Good.
I have read it. And she says that there's a cabal with Gove and various others.
Yes.
Gove at the head of it. But then in addition...
Dougie Smith.
He's one of them, yes. But in addition to this, there's a shadowy man who's not Dougie Smith.
He is.
No. She says...
No, for legal reasons, she refers to Dr. No.
Yes.
Dr. No is Dougie Smith.
Are we sure?
I'm saying that on the podcast right now.
Right, okay. Well, allegedly, Dr. No is Dougie Smith.
Dougie Smith can come for me if he wants.
I guess.
He is the shadowy figure behind our government.
Okay. Because she definitely delineated between the two in the book.
Yeah, she did.
Probably for good reason.
For very sensible reasons that I should probably do myself.
Yes, and you should, actually.
But
so
I'm alleging.
Yes, it's Dougie Smith. But the point is, there's clearly something going on, and this is what Liz Truss has been saying a lot recently. You can see there that's Connor interviewing Liz Truss, which will be out next week. So if you want to go and see what she had to say to us, do that.
Oh yeah, because she's all conservative now, isn't she?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so there were a bunch of interesting revelations that came out of this that I'm not going to reveal now. Again, come and sign up to the website and see that next week. But one interesting thing that she had previously said was that she doesn't feel that she was in control. She was the prime minister, but she didn't hold the levers of power.
No.
And so it was in her, she said this, where was it? On some Politics Live or something like that,
Right.
where she had said, the Conservative Prime Minister can be removed, but the Governor of the Bank of England can't. And so this shows you where power really resides in Britain. And so if you think about that, well, who was the one making him do this? This wasn't necessary. This wasn't in any way required of him. He could have done this from inside, which he, in fact, did afterwards. But we'll get to that in a second. Because then you got a round of delusional, absolutely delusional bunker mentality conservatives who are just like, right, okay, now I have to go on TV or LBC and be like, do you think you can win this election? And this is just such a hilarious exchange.
Do you seriously think you can win this election?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
By what kind of...
Just really? Because it's such a preposterous thing to say. Like, even Andrew, okay. Because it's mental.
Delusional.
Yeah, it's totally out of touch.
I mean, they have to say that. They can't say, well, actually, I don't think we can, no.
Well,
otherwise, why run?
I guess that they've got to say it, but it just looks, again, look at the guy's face.
I know, it's just also embarrassing.
Yeah.
I get secondhand embarrassment.
Exactly, and there's just the looming spectre of Tony Blair laughing like a Machiavellian genius over all of it. He's destroyed you all.
Yeah.
Can't you see this? And again, you'll want to watch the Liz Truss interview we've got next week. Again, not going to spoil anything, but you'll learn something about Tony Blair.
But what I don't get about Liz Truss is why would we vote for her again when she couldn't do it the first time around?
Well, it seems that it's just not her fault. That's
sure, but it won't be her fault next time, will it?
That's true. But that's the point. It's not Rishi Sunak's fault either because he's not in charge either. He's obviously a puppet that someone.
Well, these people need to get dodgy people like Dr. No off of CCHQ's payroll. They need to fix the candidate selection process so that they get some actual conservatives in their party. And then they need to have a vote of no confidence in the people that they do have in. So they need to clean house.
They would have to. I don't think they're going to.
No, they're not.
What you're going to get is apparatchiks like Janet Daly in The Telegraph. Rishi's speech showed his tactical strengths. Starmer will be deeply worried. Are you mad?
Gosh.
Do you think Starmer's worried about an election? No, he's been begging for one. He's been saying, call an election over and over.
And he doesn't have to do anything. This is the worst part about it. He will stand there like the robot that he is and win.
Exactly, which is exactly what he did. I mean, he's been begging for one. He's been desperate for one. And it's just, I mean, I'm going to subject you to Keir Starmer talking.
Hey.
Thank you. Tonight, the Prime Minister has finally announced the next general election. A moment the country needs and has been waiting for. And where...
All right, that's enough. Just, you know...
Did you see when Craig McKinley came back to Parliament?
No.
And he'd been amputated his legs and his hands.
Oh, yeah, I did see, yeah.
And he sat there and everyone else was like, yeah, giving him a round of applause. Keir Starmer stood there like emotionless.
What is wrong with you? Pretend to be a human for 5 minutes, Sir Keir. But what's interesting is that this is a moment the country needs and has been waiting for. No one's been waiting for it. No. Everyone's totally disillusioned with politics. The vote turnout in the next election is going to be staggeringly low. And obviously I watched the entire speech. It's an insanely boring managerial speech with basic Labour talking points that no one believes. And he says, it's going to be a new spirit of service. Country first, party second. Oh, yeah.
I used to love them. I used to go out campaigning like every day, every night. I used to live off that political energy and I just can't be bothered. I have no interest whatsoever.
It's absolutely dead.
I'm not so certain that they have zero power.
Who?
The prime ministers. And I say this not because I don't think that a lot of the criticisms are
I'm not saying they don't have zero power.
I think they cultivate it because when people are criticizing them, they're going to say, well, it wasn't me.
Well, the thing is, they never actually pull up whoever they say and use them as a shield.
Yeah.
So they always try to worm the way. But I'm not saying they don't have zero power. But where it matters, where it's substantive, they're clearly not in control. Right. You see this, I was going to bring this up, but you see the Conservatives, I think it was Jonathan Gullis or someone like that, who tweeted out, we're getting immigration down as if they're subject to the global tides of immigration and there's just nothing they can do about it. It's like, you are theoretically the absolute executive branch of the United Kingdom. Parliament is sovereign. You could put it into legislation that the sky was green if you wanted, and we'd all have to, Parliament has declared it. And the idea that you can't just cease handing out visas by the millions is preposterous. It's just preposterous and pretending like you're at the... So who is in the way preventing you doing it is the question. But anyway, so Rishi Sunak then put out this, which again was watched because you can see why he's not even hateable. He's not even detestable. He's just really annoying.
I've just come back in from calling the general election, and I wanted to explain to you why.
I can't stand these
Our
skate
economy
shirts
is
either.
now growing faster than France, Germany, and the United States. And this
They must
morning
be doing
we
really
received
badly
the
then.
welcome news that inflation has returned to normal.
What does that mean? Inflation
This
has turned
is a
to
sign
normal.
that our plan and our priorities are
Should be
working.
negative.
Now, I know it hasn't always been easy, and I know you're only just starting to feel the benefits. But this hard-won economic stability was only ever meant to be the beginning. And that's why I've called the election. So that we can...
So he's
Economic
fixed the economy, is what he's saying.
Economic stability?
Right.
What? Stability is something you have to measure over a period of time.
Right.
Right? You can't just be like, right, okay, well, so yesterday was really high, today is not really high, therefore stability. That's not what stability means. But again, who is he pitching to with this presentation? It feels like he's pitching to sort of like, 40-year-old wine aunts who have been emotionally dependent on him or something. But it's like, I think that's a really narrow constituency, Rishi. I don't think that's very many people at all. But basically, it's preposterous nonsense that no one believes. And if you're capable of doing these videos from inside, why didn't you? Who made you go outside? Anyway, so why a general election? Well, he says because economic stability was only ever meant to be the beginning, which is why I've called the general election. It's like,
I don't get it. So you haven't got to where you need to be. So why are you calling the election now?
Exactly.
Like, do what you wanted to do.
Exactly. And the thing is, you didn't actually have to call the election now.
No.
He's actually got a lot more time, actually. He can have another 6 months or so if he wanted. So why did he do it? Well, Sky think it's because there are a bunch of letters of no confidence were coming in. And this is why he was forced to call a general election out in the rain. Again, it doesn't explain why he's out in the rain. So go.
No, sorry. But I want to say, because we have the same thing in Greece sometimes, a lot of elections are announced before September because people are generally speaking happier when it's summer and when they're going out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and then they start paying taxes and stuff.
Do it before tax season.
Yeah.
So I'm not resentful against the state. But yeah, so they think basically an internal revolt in the party, letters to the 1922 committee. Dan Wootton apparently spoke to senior Tory sources. Apparently a bunch of them were submitted. And so Sunak thought he would try and save himself by calling an election, which is remarkable because that would imply that he ever had an electoral mandate from the public that he can call upon, which he didn't, obviously. And so there are now MPs who are also trying to revolt against Rishi to stop having an election. They want to rescind the election because apparently this isn't a done deal necessarily, although in reality, I think this is
He's
obviously...
already asked the king to dissolve parliament, though, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's got to formally ask the king to dissolve parliament, so that could be undone. Some furious Conservative MPs are working on a plot to call off the election.
What?
One Tory rebel MP tells me he believes several more letters of no confidence will go in. And another one said, today has been an absolute disaster, but the election is not irrevocable up until the point of the dissolution of Parliament. When the writs are moved to begin the contest, it can still be aborted. In other words, if enough Tory MPs who are clearly going to lose their seats, probably around 300 of them, in this already utterly shambolic campaign, writes Sir Graham Brady tomorrow, the election could still be revoked. Okay.
That's interesting. So that might be worth looking into. So when you lose an election and you have a certain majority, you get a certain kind of golden handshake.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's dependent on a certain time period.
Quite possibly. But who knows?
Because they're going to lose their seats. I think they're worried about how much money they're going to make or lose.
Yeah. And I thought we'd just turn back the clock 4 years very briefly, just to remember, who else are they going to run? They have no one else. I mean, just to be clear, this is what it looked like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Conservatives on 54%. So Rishi Sunak has lost them 30% of the entire electorate in his time. Since the night of the long knives, as it were, in the Conservative Party.
It's so infuriating because they could have done so much. Like Boris couldn't do much because Rishi was obfuscating from as the Chancellor, and then the civil service are obfuscating. They won't do anything like the Rwanda policy, and then you've got Dr. No or whoever that is behind the scenes puppeteering. So everyone is getting in the way. No one can get anything done.
Yeah.
14 years, not a single thing has been done.
Well, no, I mean, things have been made deliberately way worse, actually. The housing market's in shambles. The streets are atrocious. The NHS is failing, all because of the Conservative immigration policy. But so who would they bring back? I mean, it would have to be Boris. Obviously, I don't want Boris back because of numerous reasons I'm not going to bother wasting your time in now. Yeah. But this is not inevitable. The Conservatives have done this to themselves. And so naturally, people are like, well, hang on a second, this just doesn't make sense. They're at 22% in the polls.
Yep.
Why call the election months ahead of when you need to? It makes no sense at all. And so lots of people, because of Andrew Bridgen, have been saying, well, we may well actually be already at war with Russia. And Andrew Bridgen was a Conservative MP who was kicked out of the party for his positions on COVID and vaccinations. And he says that we are actually at war with Russia now, but we're not going to tell people until July or August. Who knows? I have no idea, right? He's saying the whole thing in Parliament's a pantomime. Again, he's going to have a lot more direct knowledge of this than any of us, because he is an MP, and he's one of the few who's decided, okay, I'm going to step out of line here and say, guys, I think we need to talk about a few things. And he got kicked out for it. He got punished. I'm sure they would have got rid of him as an MP if they had the option to do so. And so that's one theory that's going around. Another one is that they're going to try and rush through the British Bill of Rights or some other Rwanda bill. I mean, Rishi Sunak has come out and promised, days after the election, the Rwanda deportation flights will start going, like Charlie Brown with the football and Lucy pulling the football out. It's like, are you serious? No one believes you.
Yeah.
No one believes you. And so something else is obviously happening here. The problem is we just don't know what that is at this moment. I'm sure it'll all come out eventually in someone else's book. But yeah, so that was just the total public humiliation of Rishi Sunak that is going to lead to the dream goal of 0 seats for the Conservatives. I do think they're going to lose about 300, though. Yeah. That's what the polling implies. Yeah. And we'll probably do an election night stream just to cheer on every time the Conservatives lose a seat, because this is what traitors deserve.
I hope you appreciated that segment from the podcast to the Lotus Eaters. And if you want to see more of the work we're doing, you can go on down to lotuseaters.com, where you can check out series like Lads Hour, as well as you can follow us on Twitter to see the rest of what we're doing on the website.